Hi, Blue Moon. I just wanted to log in and do a little talking about Mabon. The internet here has turned out to be not as good as I'd hoped it would be, and my parents don't know how to access it in terms of a password, so it's been interesting. But I definitely wanted to talk to you about Mabon today for Ask a Witch. And so I was hoping for a quietish place. I'm basically in the bathroom in my mom's room with yard work going on outside. So I hope you can hear me okay. So today actually tomorrow, according to my calendar, is Mabon. And Mabon is the second harvest holiday of the pagan year. And the second harvest holiday is really the largest one. It's a lot about, the apples and the big fruit harvest. The big fruit harvest that happens at this time of year is really like Thanksgiving. In the in the United States, in the Western world, we often celebrate a holiday called Thanksgiving, where we're thankful for the harvest and thankful for all the things that have been gifted to us by nature, the food and the fruit and the things like that. And so that's what Mabon is about. It's the second harvest holiday, the largest harvest holiday. It's also the holiday that focuses on sharing and focuses on preservation of the things that we harvest, being thankful, for what we harvest, because the earth can decide not to bear fruit at times, and when we have a big harvest, then we celebrate that by sharing with our friends and neighbors and our family. So at least in the traditions that I have observed and enacted over the years, my celebrations have centered around a feast. And so tomorrow is that day, that feast day. And so in our family, we generally would harvest a turkey, or we would use something that's from our farm that we harvested, a ham, or some other really lovely gift that we have from our animals from our farm. We generally would make something out of apples and or pears or both. I often will gather friends together for Mabon and give away jams and jellies and apple butter and applesauce and things of that nature. And so there generally are things that we do in circle, and one of the things that we need to remember with equinoxes is that we are looking at a time of the year when we seek balance. The light and the dark are in balance. Day and night are of equal length at this time of year. And so it's really about finding balance before we go into the depth of winter or into the cave for wintertime. So part of what we do also at Mabon is, one of the rituals that I've done over the years is put a big 4x4 in the middle of the circle and have people hold your hands as you walk across it and contemplate not only finding balance, but also contemplating, how your friends can assist you, how friends walk with you, and you help each other find balance. Your community is very, very important. It's important to have a community that loves you and supports you and, looks out for you when things are rough. I've always been very, very fortunate to have a community like that, and mainly because, though on occasion I do ask for help, and let me just say that this campaign that I have going on right now with GoFundMe is only the second time I've ever asked for any help for myself, ever. I've asked for help for my daughter before, but never for anyone, for myself, except for one time about 6 or 7 years ago. And my family, my magical family has come together to support me and help me in this time of need. And the reason that I have that community is because when they tell me that they're hungry, or that they don't have any food, or that their financial aid didn't come in, or that they've lost their job, my response is always, come over and get a bag of stuff. Come over and get meat, come over and get fruit, come over and get vegetables. And this time of year is really about that. And the harvest for me as a Taurus, as an earth sign, is often very big. It may not be big money-wise, but I've always got lots and lots of food. And I use, the harvest time as a time to share. I know in the times and past times of cultures, Celtic cultures that celebrate Mabon, that feasting was the most common thing that we see. So at this time of year, celebrating what was coming in from the fields, because there's so much that comes in this time of year, that we really have to use some of it, because preserving all of it is just, it's very time consuming and difficult. So if we can consume some of it, share with our neighbors, work together to preserve what we are harvesting, then that is really the purpose of this time. And because we're going into winter, and when we're going into winter, we need to assess what we will need through the cave time, through the cold. And assessment, I would say assessment is another part of Mabon. Assessment of self, assessment of your resources, assessment of your community, getting rid of things that don't serve you is also part of this, and we have spring cleaning, we also have fall cleaning. And getting, clearing out your space, clearing out the things that you don't need, clearing out the people who are harmful to you, clearing out, the aspects of your life that don't work, taking a good hard look at yourself and looking at ways that you may be in balance or may not be in balance, and how you could, correct that or make things better. So Mabon is really, I would say, about harvest. It's about balance. It's about assessment of self and one's readiness for leaner times. It's also about recognizing that we're going in deeply into the spiral. We started going inward at Litha, when this day started to become shorter after the longest day, and those days are continuing to get shorter and shorter. And from Mabon to Samhain, which is the 31st of October, we see the sun disappear quite a bit. The days become quite a bit shorter, and then from Samhain, which is the Celtic New Year, the first part of the Celtic year, we're going into the deepest part of the spiral. And so that deep part of the spiral, where the veil is thin, is not only a good time to connect with your ancestors, it's also a good time for things like meditation and clairvoyance and tarot readings and crystal gazing and scrying and all those kinds of things. So Mabon is kind of about, okay, gather up your stores, make sure your community is well cared for, make sure you're connected, make sure everybody, has what they need, make sure you don't have anything that's draining your resources, and get ready to tuck in for the dream time. Really, that would be the best way to put it. So, we on the altar, we often have apples. Apples are almost always on the altar for Mabon. Apples and pears. We also can put pumpkins and squashes, all the fall fruits that we celebrate. And the nice thing too is that a lot of these fruits and vegetables that we harvest at this time of year last quite a while. Like if you wrap up apples right, they'll last most of the winter. And you can also, can them or make them into things. The same is true for winter squash. Last year at this time, I grew quite a lot of winter squash. And I got quite a lot of winter squash and, stored it in a cool place in my kitchen. And it lasted until just like last week. So, that's pretty cool. So this is the time of year when all those foods, all the sustenance that will get you through the cold time of the year and the long nights and all of that is ready. So what we want to do is say thank you to, the earth for sustaining us during that time when she is sleeping. Because once all the plants are going to start going to sleep now, and the bees are going to start going to sleep, and the animals are going to start hibernating, and this is that time when everything starts to go in. By October, everything's in the cave that's going to go in. And often lots of things, check out at this time. Think about all the insects, that finish up their cycles and, die at this time of year because the cold comes back, and all of the, animals that, go into hibernation and all of that. And, as a farmer, we get ready for that time by assessing, as I was saying earlier, assessment is part of this, assessing what we have in terms of animals and which ones are productive and which ones are not. Which ones of our breeding animals, will continue to sustain us? Which ones of our animals will, do we think will, be good for next year's breeding stock? And so Samhain is also known as the blood harvest. So when we go from Mabon to Samhain, we're looking at, harvesting animals. We're assessing which animals we, can't afford to feed through the winter. And so for those of you who are, vegetarians or sensitive about animals, in terms of that aspect, that may not be part of your reality, but in the history of humanity, it has been a part of the reality of all peoples who live in northern latitudes since we started farming, which is about 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. So it's a long tradition of, making sure that we're ready. That we're ready for that cold time. So tomorrow, as I said, is Mabon. And, one of the things that you want to take into consideration is, walking the balance. Like I said, you could use a 4x4, or you could just walk on a line, but kind of do a meditative balance walk and think about the things in your life that make you feel unbalanced. And maybe even write down the things that make you feel unbalanced and clear those things, work on clearing those things from your life. So I'm actively doing that right now. And it's a very important thing to do because your immune system is stressed and taxed during the winter. And so you really don't want a lot of stress from emotional sources or people who are harmful to you. You really want to clear out anyone who is harmful to you or doesn't have your back, because they can make you sick during that time of year. So think about the things that keep you balanced and the things that don't, and work on assessing that and clearing those things that don't. Work on collecting your harvest, looking, and not just looking at your harvest in terms of, like the physical harvest, like the food you harvest, but what seeds have you sown this year that you are now harvesting? What have you done this year, and, in terms of your work, and what is coming back to you now? And so, it's like even with the things that are going on in my life, which are, really unwarranted, unfair, I still know that, there's a part of it that I need to look at and understand why it's happening. That even if I didn't do anything that I could control, there are aspects of maybe karma or aspects of things that I need to consider in terms of trusting people, or aspects of life that I need to be more aware of, or, being more critical or assessing more what people say to me. I had a part in this. I'm not completely innocent of this result. Do I deserve what I've gotten here? I really do not believe so, but it's still part of the learning, that Spirit does here on earth. For whatever reason that this is happening, it's to teach me. And so what I need to look at is, what do I need to learn? What am I being taught by Spirit? What I need to assess. What have I harvested? And so there, for me, there's been a lot of things harvested that are wonderful. I have harvested crap loads of apples. I've harvested, a lot of piglets this year. I've harvested a lot of great friends, a lot of new friends. I've harvested classes that aren't dependent upon where I live. I've harvested a number of wonderful patrons who follow my Patreon page and help support me that way. I've harvested a number of friends who are willing to step up and help me with, moving somewhere for our animals that can help us survive, I've harvested a lot of good things. The one thing that I have harvested that is bad is this situation with my landmate. And, that situation I don't really know what to do about other than to just get away from her. And so I'm assessing what are my resources to be able to do that. So when we are looking at holidays or Sabbats, what we're looking at is really big energy times where we really need to spend a little time in contemplation and thinking about what is the energy of this time that as it applies to my everyday life. What is the energy of this lesson? What am I learning at this turn of the wheel? Okay. And part of what I'm learning is that all the sharing and all the things that I've done for others is coming back to me in support right now, and a lot of kindness and a lot of joy. There's still, people out there who want to talk shit about me, and well, that's whatever. People always want to get into whatever drama. But really, what it is a chance for me to say, wow, my community's really behind me. And wow, my community's really there for me. Wow, my community, when I fall, or when I feel like I'm going to fall, my community helps me maintain balance, helps me to continue to move forward. And that is the energy of Mabon. Now, there's a couple of traditions. Mabon is named after Queen Mab, who was the queen of the fairies at one point. And Queen Mab's favorite food was blackberries, or berries generally. And so it is believed that after Mabon, one should not harvest berries because they belong to her. They're her berries after that. And so they should be allowed to go to the animals and to Queen Mab. So if you, follow that, we're done harvesting berries now. Berries belong to Queen Mab as of tomorrow. And so, and there's some interesting, little, historical things about that. But, mainly it is, to allow the offering to the Fairy Queen to be available for her harvest. So I hope that the vlog on Mabon is helpful to you. I would say the colors that you want to have on your altar are things like orange and yellow. Gold is a nice one too, and maybe even red. Put a lot of fruit and vegetables, like a cornucopia is a really good thing to put on your altar if you are celebrating Mabon. Put a cornucopia on your altar and fill it full of lovely food, and do a thankfulness ritual and share that meal. Make a meal and share it with those you love, and give gifts of food to those you love. Share your harvest with them. This is how community is created. This is how community is maintained. And this is how community supports each other as we walk that fine line of balance. And so as we go into the balanced time, definitely look to your spiritual family to help you walk your walk, especially if you are, struggling at all. So I hope that was good. Like I said, I'm not in a place where it's easy to do this. I am available to answer questions. If you have any questions, you just type them in and I can answer those here while I'm here. And also, let me just remind you too that there's quite a lot of videos on Patreon at this point, and it's just www.patreon.com/Cronewitch with a Y. And you can go in there, and all the previous Ask a Witch videos are in HD, and there's some other vlogs too, and some written material. And after a while, you know, right now I'm still building the herbal vlogs that are the turning of the wheel, what's going on in the garden this time of year, are just right now for $5 and $15 members and up, but they will become public vlogs at a later date, so that you can, you know, review those at a later date. So there's a lot of great material on there, and I hope that you feel compelled to support this work. I try very hard to stay on schedule, but you know, this, as you know, many of you know, I'm down visiting my mother who is 80, and my father who is also 80, and you know, celebrating Mabon with them. And I don't always have access to the best situations when I travel, but here I am before Mabon, doing my Ask a Witch vlog, and I will continue to do them as long as people feel like they like them, as long as people are watching them and enjoying them. So if you have any questions, and you can't think of them right now, but if you have questions later, please feel free to, you know, post them underneath the vlog, and I will answer them later. But until then, I just want to let you know that, you know, this is a great time of year to celebrate with your family. This is really the true Thanksgiving type energy. This is really when the feasting really happened in the past, this and Yule. So, you know, go and get a bunch of yummy things and make a bunch of food and invite your friends over and celebrate the wonders of harvest. All right, well, I'm not sure what time it is because my phone doesn't really tell me how long I've been online, but hopefully I'm pretty close, and I will definitely be on again next Wednesday. I'm flying home on Tuesday, so I should be able to be home to do my usual Ask a Witch vlog. And as soon as I have access to a regular internet again, which, you know, will be probably next Wednesday, I will upload. I'll try to upload this week because I'll be in a hotel, but I don't know what kind of internet I'll have, what I have for Patreon. But also I'll upload the videos to the Ask Witch videos to Patreon and to YouTube so that you can watch them in HD there if you'd like to. All right, well, I am going to say goodbye and go spend some more time with my fabulous mom and dad. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this and you found it helpful. And I will talk to you very soon. Take care.